You gave me like a top 5.
I gave you a top 5 challenge.
Way, way, way back.
And I thought to myself, hey, let's stop being mean to each other on this. I'm going to give Chris the easiest thing possible. I'm going to give him the whole of history to pick 5 films from.
But the thing is, it's not easy. I'll tell you why. Like, when this top 5 thing, for anyone who's new to the podcast, on the off podcast that we do, we do one guest spot, and then the following one we do like a meaty, crappy film review. That's our kind of process.
Yes.
These top 5s are supposed to be fun, light-hearted, enjoyable. We pick like a top 5 movie-based things, whether it be movie remakes that we'd like to see, cartoons into movie form, and we've done a load of sports movies that we've never seen made. And you gave me this like behemoth of a category, and I was thinking, okay, not only have most of the major incidents in our world history been covered, apart from the Big Bang, well, I suppose you could arguably say that has been covered in some shape or form in cinema, but
mostly you have exposition at the beginning of a film. Like, in the beginning there was nothing.
Yeah, but the most of our major historical events are pretty depressing. Or resulted in death, famine, the plague, you name it. I mean, it's all big stuff. And I'm thinking, how can I put a bunker twist on this? And quite frankly, I couldn't. So I have picked 5 quite interesting ones. Okay, and they are serious. These are serious things. Okay, so
right.
So we're going to talk about them as best we can, and then I'm going to come back to you with for your top 5, something that you might actually enjoy.
Oh, sorry then. Okay. Come at number 5 then.
Come at number 5. Okay, so this is my number, and I looked at everything.
Can you define the order? Is this a particular order, or is this?
No, it's not. No, I don't do orders. This is a list.
Right.
Okay, so
an unordered list. Number
5 is the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. Now, this is a fascinating story. Okay, it's a bit heavy. So the Industrial Revolution changed a lot of things. Okay? But one major ramification was the growing sense of identity and nationalism. And by 1914, the new technological innovations like tanks, machine guns, and deadly gases, Europe had become a powder keg of factions just waiting to go to war. So on June the 28th in 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, toured Sarajevo to inspect the armed forces of Bosnia. Something Serbian nationalists weren't happy about. They weren't happy about this at all. So Ferdinand and his wife were shot by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist. The Serbian government was blamed for the attack, which sparked World War I. Isn't that a fantastic paragraph?
There's a lot there. I mean, that is a plot. There's various levels of film that could be. Yes. I'm surprised they haven't made a film of this, obviously, because at school, at history, we always learn of the short-term causes and long-term causes of the First World War, and that this one's obviously is the sort of primary sort of like straw that broke the camel back kind of situation. So I don't think, and I may be wrong, but I don't think that Franz Ferdinand's been represented in on celluloid. So I found it quite a fascinating tale and something I didn't know, and I think it would be quite a long film. It'd be a lengthy one. It'd be quite. It's got Gary Oldman written all over it.
It certainly has. Well, anyway, I enjoyed reading the paragraph, and I enjoyed reading it.
I love the fact that your research is a paragraph. Was this paragraph on Wikipedia, by any chance?
Well, did it sound like it was written by me?
No, God, no.
No. So, yes. Cool. You'll find that everything I'm reading to you now has been stolen from the web, which is what it's there for.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Just thievery and cat videos. That's all it is.
Okay, so then my next one, which is number 4. This is like the Edward Snowden reports back in 2013. So quite a recent event. And I'm fairly certain it's not been covered. So Europe-wide eavesdropping scandal, it was basically. Whistleblower Edward Snowden reports on the eavesdropping and espionage methods of the US intelligence agencies, CIA and NSA. And Chancellor Merkel's phone was also bugged for some time as well. So loads of kind of espionage, whistleblowing, and all sorts of intelligence and, CIA, kind of NSA. I'm just saying stuff that I'm reading.
They're just initials. They mean nothing anymore.
Yeah. So I just thought it was an interesting story. Edward Snowden being a fairly big character in 2013 and the legacy he's left behind in terms of sort of outing and the eavesdropping of all this scandal that happened.
Yeah. I hate to piss on your fire, but I think that film has been made.
No, it hasn't.
We've got just Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think it's called Snowden.
Yeah, no, yes, it made, yeah. Yeah, no, that one, but that's not this story.
Oh, what's that about then?
It's about a different Edward Snowden.
Right, okay.
That is a different kind of whistleblowing. I think it's the whistleblowing championships from 2013. So
right, or is it up the mountain?
Yeah. So no, completely different film, mate. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Just thought it sounded similar.
Nah, it's not. Should we move on?
Let's move on.
This one, I'm fairly certain, is pretty kosher, but this is number 3.
The Titanic. Have you heard of it?
It's the Nazareth. So I've got the fall of the Berlin Wall, November the 9th, 1989. So for decades, the Berlin Wall had stood as a symbol of the Iron Curtain splitting West and Eastern Europe. And then obviously November 1989, it was demolished.
It came down.
So on one side, communist authoritarian states, and on the other side, liberal democracies. And the wall had been built to prevent East Germans escaping into the West. And indeed, many had been shot trying to escape. So we know it's very symbolic. It was a big thing in terms of
whenever I hear about the fall of the Berlin Wall, I always just think of David Hasselhoff.
Well, this is what I've already got this idea of Hasselhoff. He could play a character. Or he could play himself in this because he was a big figure.
Maybe it could all just be from his perspective.
Yeah. But it's an iconic moment in history for all the right reasons.
Big moment.
As far as I know, there haven't been like a film of this kind documenting maybe the lead up to it, pick out some important people from governments on both sides and a reconstruction of that kind of wall coming down. Yeah,
because I remember obviously the wall coming down, but I don't know who instigated that or how that came about. There must have been quite a lot of
bits and pieces. So what number am I at now? It must be at number 3, 4.
That was 3.
Right, so number 4.
Well, we go the other way, generally. You always do this. You always lose your direction halfway through. So we started at 5, which was Archduke Ferdinand. Then number 4, about the never before seen Edward Snowden biopic.
Oh, yes.
And then 3 was the Berlin Wall just.
Yep. And that means number 2.
Number 2.
Right. We've been doing these top 5s for a long time, and I still don't know which direction to go in. And it's always at the same place.
Yeah. 3 really throws you.
So number 2 is the Gutenberg printing press. Now this is interesting because this is one of the greatest inventions of the Renaissance was the Gutenberg printing press. Gutenberg took the idea of printing from Asia, but made it much easier and more efficient with his press. The first books he printed were Bibles, and they were all sold before he even finished them. The printing press fanned the flames of reading, education, and knowledge, and the new capability of mass printing books that would have previously been copied by hand. Now, you cannot put into words the significance of...
There cannot be a more significant historical event than that, surely.
And this has not been documented in a film.
Apart from the film called The Printing Press. I'm joking.
Oscar nominated. So now it leads me to my number 1.
Yes, it is. I don't know how you're going to beat the printing press.
No, so this one is titled Vacuum in 1908. James Murray Spangler invented the electric vacuum cleaner? The first model used a broomstick, pillow, and a box containing electric motor and a fan. He applied for a patent in 1908, and William Hoover helped finance its development for the mass market.
For the mass Marvins. It's a very, very niche market they were aiming at there. So this is for all the Marvins out there.
I got a bit bored about like these massive historical events and just thought, what invention?
So that sounds like Hoover stole the idea eventually, or
I reckon. But I got a tagline for this. It'd be like this. This movie sucks.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
love that.
Back of the net. A film about the invention of the Hoover or the vacuum cleaner, I should.
Because if it does have that kind of, the founder kind of vibe to it, if it does, it result in sort of subterfuge and stealing of ideas and patentings and whatnot. Yeah. So I did enjoy that. The founder, that was good. You seen that?
It was the one about McDonald's.
Yeah.
That was good. So what do you think of that top five? It was different, wasn't it?
Curiously for you, I found the last two to be in the right order as the top two. I know the other ones were kind of huge, massive historical events, but I think sometimes these little sort of niche-y, moments in time, and especially, just to be fair, they could invent some sort of human interest story around these things. They don't always have to steer slavishly to actual historical events. They never fucking do, as it is. So I think you did well. I think you did well to avoid a total bleak fest. Yeah. Right, so we did the plague. Yeah. And then this is the battles of the Verdun and Somme, where 12 million people died.
This is it. There's a lot of dark stuff in history, and even recent history is all very well documented. And the financial crisis has been done, and so a lot of films based on historical events have been made. So my challenge for you, I've got a nice one for you. You'll be pleased. All right. Top 5 supporting character roles to feature in their own spin-off film. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
If we were to draw a graph of my process, of my method, something like this. Sir Ian, action. Wizard, you shall not pass! Cut! Sir Ian.
So this week the challenge was top 5 supporting characters that should have their own film.
Yeah, right. This is a great one. And this is one that I was hoping I was saving for myself in case you've run out of ideas.
Then you ran out of ideas and had to use it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, this is a good one. But did you find this quite difficult?
Yes. Yeah. No, it was quite tricky because you think of these characters first of all in your mind, and then you try and remember the ones which should have had their own film and stuff. And then I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll trawl through the Oscars Best Supporting Actor awards, because that's fundamentally the people we're looking at, and it didn't really work out for me, that because the supporting actor is basically just someone else in the film. Normally, in the female terms, it's normally the lead character. And in male terms, it's not normally someone. It's normally something that's quite fleshed out, and basically a co-star in their own right, and normally only in the supporting actor category, simply because there was a bigger person that they wanted to give the Oscar to. So that didn't pan out. So I just sort of started thinking of the films I'd watched and enjoyed, and thought to myself, I'd like to have seen more of that person.
Because there's always tend to be like a wacky sidekick or another sort of interesting character actor that you might think, oh, that would work.
Yes.
Well, hit me with it, Matthew. Hit me. Let's go straight in at number what? What are we doing? Are we doing the Doom? Are we going high to low or low to high?
So if level 1 is a shit on the floor and level 5 is an alien outbreak, it's the other way around to that then. So level 5 would be a shit on the floor. Number 5 is a shit on the floor. Number 1 is the one that if I was forced to only have one do it, it would be that one.
Cool. Number 5.
John Pantalino.
Hi there, Future Matt here. You might have just noticed that I said that guy's name wrong. His actual name is Joe Pantoliano. Thank you.
Who's actor? Who? you do know him. He's the guy from Goonies. He's the wig wearer in Goonies. That's not the character that I've picked for this, but he's the sergeant guy, desk guy in Bad Boys. Again, not the character I picked for this.
He's in The Matrix.
Yes, sorry, I probably missed out the probably most famous role that he did, where he's the guy
He's
that
in Memento.
loves steak. Memento, and that is the character of Teddy that I think I want to see in another film.
A car this nice, you should lock.
Who the fuck are you?
Teddy? Your buddy?
Prove it.
Sammy. Remember Sammy? You told me about Sammy.
Like, that whole film, obviously, we're focused around Guy Pearce's character, and it's brilliant. It's an amazing film, so innovative and compelling when you're watching it. This whole sort of backwards scene where every scene starts at the end of the previous scene or the start of the previous scene. So it's just brilliant. But the motivation for Teddy's character is never really sort of fully realised, and sort of like where we sort of start halfway through this journey of, like, you know, we never see Guy Pearce's character as a normal guy, and then obviously Teddy gets hold of him once he's got his memory loss and fundamentally uses him for his own gains. It'd just be really cool to have like a prequel to that film where we learn more about Teddy and why he's doing this.
No, fantastic. And also he's kind of got an air of like the Breaking Bad, Better Call Saulness about him, really. You know, the kind of this it's like a scoundrel drawing someone into their web, you know, and using them for their own gains. And it would be a great, that would really work. And especially in the setting, it's dusty and it's
he's just a great character, and he's a fantastic little character actor as well. So it's just something I think he could happily carry on his own. And like, you know, if it all built up and in perfect Memento way, to have it this backwards wouldn't even make any, it would actually make more perfect sense. We just sort of like had the film lead up to the point where he meets Guy with his memory loss and his tattoo addiction. I think it would be good. Yes, that's a great one. I do like that guy. Great actor, great concept. Well done, Matthew. Thank you, Chris. Number four. Charlize Theron is the actress, and the role that I'd like to see more of is Imperator Furiosa from Mad Max Fury Road.
That's a great choice.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a cheat, if we're honest, because she's not really the co-star in that film. She is kind of like she is the main driving force. Tom Hardy's character in it is just kind of reactive, and it's just gut instinct and nothing else. Whereas Furiosa is actually the whole entire reason the film kind of exists and drives it. So it's a little bit of a cheat, but she didn't get top billing, so I'm figuring to myself, hey, I can fucking have that.
Yeah, and she does utterly deserve to be top billing on that movie. And if anything, she should be she should have been Mad Maxine. And and I think a prequel showing how she ended up where she was, and obviously the escape plan that she does and everything. That would be awesome.
Or even a sequel. I mean, we don't always have to go back. I mean, I think her character was set up enough for us to be able to sort of take that on, just like Mad Max was in sort of like the end of Mad Max 2, and that kind of like road warrior. Because I think a lot of people kind of either haven't seen the first Mad Max or kind of forget how normal a film it was, if you like, really. It's only really Mad Max 2 which kind of introduced that sort of thematic element of the kind of, dystopian apocalyptic world where, the petrol's king and strange punk bands and men on the fronts of lorries with flamethrowers abound the streets. It's not normal. So I think this would it would happily springboard to another film where she could I reckon maybe kill Mad Max off straight away, and then she could just take over that character. But I think you don't want to sort of do that. You don't want to make Mrs. Mad Max, because her character had more depth than that, and like I say, actually had a purpose. Whereas I think ever since Mad Max 2, it's kind of the draw for Mad Max is he doesn't have a plan. He just kind of reacts to what's going on around him. So
yeah, and a fantastic surprise hit as well. Great movie that was.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, was it, that one?
I loved it.
There you go. Number 4.
Nice one. Number 3. Hit me with a number 3.
The Big Lebowski, John Goodman. Oh, Walter, the famous Walter. I think this is probably one that a lot of people would expect to see on these kind of lists of supporting actors. In fact, basically all of the cast of Big Lebowski could probably take their own film on from it, from Lebowski himself to Steve Buscemi's character, Julianne Moore's character. But yeah, I picked John Goodman because he was just a fucking nutter in this film. And I think it would just be a good one of those movies that don't have a point, if you know what I mean. Kind of just gets up in the morning, has a day, takes a shit, goes back to bed again, but then flesh that out a bit.
Yeah, you might want a bit more plot. But yeah, just him negotiating his way through, those difficult situations that he would probably crumble at, because he's suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, isn't he?
Yeah, so we could do you could do like a falling down kind of thing where he just sort of goes off to work one day but never really comes back home again.
Yeah. No, great idea and a very scary character.
And number 2?
Yeah, hit me with number 2, Matthew.
Tom Hardy. Again, well, not again because he wasn't in the previous one, but his character of Eames from Inception.
Inception. Now, before you bother telling me it's impossible.
No, it's perfectly possible. It's just bloody difficult.
Interesting. So Arthur keeps telling me it can't be done.
Arthur, you still working with that stick in the mud?
He is good at what he does, right?
Oh, he's the best. He has no imagination.
Not like you.
Listen, if you're going to perform Inception, you need imagination.
Let me ask you something. Have you done it before?
We tried it. We got the idea in place, but it didn't take.
You didn't plant it deep enough?
No, it's not just about depth. You need the simplest version of the idea in order for it to grow naturally in your subject's mind. And it's a very subtle art.
Oh, yes.
I always thought his character there, and another Chris Snowden film. I'm sending this guy fucking check after check, can't I?
He needs it.
He needs it. He's struggling a bit, isn't he? Yeah, so the character of Eames, I thought was one of the better characters in Inception, which is tough going because it's full of very rich tableau of characters, but much like Big Lebowski. So he's kind of had this sort of like kind of special forces kind of vibe to him and stuff, but like mental special forces. So it's kind of
Bond. He's Bond, isn't he? He's just doing Bond, but
he's like a dream Bond, dreamy Bond, dream Bond. Don't know what you call it, but
he's dreamy.
He's dreamy. The whole Inception world is amazing and something that I would like to see on the screen again. And he's clearly, and this one would fit better as a prequel. It doesn't really matter, I suppose, just because we follow DiCaprio's character to the kind of his end and arc doesn't mean that world doesn't carry on existing. It's clearly a fundamental security issue that happens. People dreaming of dreams and dreaming of dreams, and he's clearly a man for hire. So I'd like to see that film.
Number 1. I'm getting excited about number 1 because you've done a sterling job so far, as per.
You're not going to recognise the name, or you might. Maybe Daphne Keane, who played Laura in Logan, which any comic book nerd worth their salt knows is X-23 from the books.
Yeah,
little vicious little fucker she was in this film, and it was really good. I very much enjoyed seeing her cut people to pieces. So
that was her first role, wasn't it? It was her first acting role too, I believe.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those. And I'm quite excited actually because I think she is going to be in the Golden Compass series alongside James McAvoy.
Oh, is he going to have his little kind of goat legs again then?
No, they have little goat people, don't they? Well, goat friends and tiger friends and.
Oh, so I'm thinking of Narnia, where he was a little. with his nipples out, with his goat feet.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not that one.
Mr. Tumnus, yeah, with his little scarf.
No, the Golden Compass was the disappointing film with the polar bear in it. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Oh, yes, you shall not pass.
Yeah, and McKellen in there goes, so what I do is I pretend I'm a polar bear. It's actually where that bit comes from, because he pretended he was a polar bear from that film. Yes, so, but to focus on this, the film ends, obviously, spoiler alert, if anyone's not seen this, 5-year-old film, so fuck you. Logan dies, Wolverine dies at the end of it. And she's kind of his clone, and yeah, so there's just a wealth of material out there in the comics that they could use. She's particularly young in this bit, so I think it'd work well, and it could almost certainly start up a whole kind of new, especially now that Marvel's got the Fox rights back and they got the mutants back. I think this is one where they could reintroduce the mutant world, and take it on from the end of Logan, kind of shoehorn it in a bit. They'd have to rewrite a little bit of their history and pretend that people hadn't noticed that all this shit was going on. But I guess it was kind of small scale Logan, so you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, but there were lots of other little kiddie actors in that as well that all survived the.
Yes.
And they went off together, didn't they, to in Eden or wherever they went to, someplace.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because I had I put this number one, but I kind of had 3 similar roles. So I had like Chloe Grace Moretz in The Hit Girl, and Natalie Portman's character from Leon as all potential ones that could go on and do their own sort of kick-ass film afterwards. Again, from comic books, Hit Girl's got her own series of books that run on from Kick-Ass. Columbiana, I think, was the unofficial sequel to Leon, and was kind of implied slightly. I think in the writing originally, it was meant to have been Portman's character from Leon, but then later on they just decided not to go down that route and just kind of rewrote it almost entirely for Zoe Saldana. To take on as an original character. So they're notable mentions that I wanted to do. But yeah, so I plumped for Daphne Keane and her Laura Kinney character of X-23.
Excellent. Well, fantastic top 5.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant number 1. Great character as well. And all those ones I probably wouldn't have thought of.
I don't know about you, but I'm thirsty as fuck.
The last ever top 5 is upon you. So you challenged me to find 5 standalone films for Star Wars characters. Basically, that was it.
Trips off the tongue, doesn't it? I mean, I keep trying to think of a more succinct way of saying it, but it's that, and I don't think there's a more succinct way of saying it. It's just,
I love Star Wars, and I know you do too. But I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and this was quite heaven. But then it was very difficult to pick 5 out.
Okay, well, I can't wait any longer, Chris. Is there a particular order, or is it just?
There is an order.
Ooh.
So thank you very much. So number 5, we've got Cornelius, Everson, and Ponda Baba. So I've kind of cheated. It's not just a standalone for one character. It's kind of a double act, duo, if you like. So you may not know these two by their names, but they were in Rogue One and A New Hope, and they're a murderous duo created the very first time we saw them. Basically, they were in the cantina in episode 1, A New Hope, and we see the effects of the lightsaber for the very first time.
Yes, this is the walrus guy and the pig face man, right?
That's correct. He sacrificed his arm for us to see an iconic moment on screen. And we thank him for that and his ugly companion. But this would be a kind of buddy road movie with a twist, because if they have, with every Star Wars character, even if they're a member of if they're just like in the bar having a drink, they've got a rich backstory. Okay, so you can thumb through any kind, like I say, the encyclopedia, and learn all about the little bat guy's past. But these two, Cornelius Everson is he is a doctor or a surgeon, and he's got his buddy is Ponda. He's basically his assistant. They go around basically.
Well, that's canon. That's
yes. They kind of do dirty stuff like backstreet surgeons. So it's kind of got a little bit of a vibe of Birkenhair and Sweeney Todd. So it could be a really dark, even potentially could be a musical. But Ponda just sounds like a walrus. My friend doesn't like you. I don't like you either. So, but yeah, you can imagine it would be like a really sort of horrible, grotesque kind of horror in a way of these guys harvesting parts and doing dirty deeds in the back streets. It could
even be like a black comedy where like at every turn shit goes wrong for them. Kind of.
Yeah. And what a great double act! One that we can understand and one that we can't, potentially not even give them subtitles.
Wow, I did not know he was a surgeon. I wouldn't have pegged it. I mean, he looks dirty. I mean,
yeah. Google that one, bad boy.
Wow.
So what do you think? Number 5, good.
Great start. Yeah, I would watch the shit out of that.
Okay, number 4. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
This is the character. His name is Paudok Draba Takat Sap Direkti Nik Kivef Nik Nevasaf Lekek aka Pau. And he was in Rogue One. Now, this guy, you would remember him as one of the only non-human sort of Rogue One characters. His name is a mouthful, but he's a little guy with a massive mouth. And he is one of the team that does the assault on Scarif at the very beginning. At the end of the film.
Yeah.
Do you know who I mean?
Yes, I do.
He shouts really loud and goes, "Ah!" That's all he does, basically. But he looks so cool. He's got like a little kind of soft helmet on, big gun, and runs around with the human sort of rebels on Scarif. Him and the monkey dude, who are the only kind of real couple of aliens they used in the kind of the goodies, if you like, in Rogue One, were really, really underused, and was really disappointed because in a lot of the promo shots that were used for when Rogue One was coming out, they were kind of front and center, but they were kind of really just background characters and had a few scenes right at the end when they were doing the invasion. And
so just one of those characters that looked cool, so they used them for posters and promos, and then had no real part.
But so for him, I think he deserves a standalone film just for the fact that he looks bloody cool and he was underused in Rogue One. But this would be like a really gritty, Full Metal Jacket kind of war movie. So all the kind of soldiers and the rebels that were used on that final battle on Scarif in Rogue One were probably all hardened soldiers at one point, or mercenaries. They were the bad bunch, kind of like a Dirty Dozen type affair, which is kind of the movie was pitched as in some ways. But they could have a backstory of those guys and have Powell being like front and center and leading the film. Not necessarily speaking English as well. We could have him subtitled.
It'd be really cool to see sort of like you say, Full Metal Jacket, kind of them in the boot camp and through their first few forays with the rebellion. No, like that.
Are we ready for number 3?
Oh, you didn't get lost. You disappoint me, Chris. Normally around here,
I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I've written it down. So number 3 is the GNK power droid, commonly known as the Gonk droid. Gonk, Gonk. So you see him Sandcrawler, and you see him in all the films. They always put one in a little homage to the Gonk droid in the background. So he's basically a walking trash can on legs. But he basically provides power. He's like a walking power unit. Do you know the guy I mean?
Yeah. Big like square thing.
He's a big square with like I don't know, tubes for legs with these big metal.
Yeah, they did the sort of cheap thing where they put sort of like air duct.
That's right.
So you couldn't see like human legs walking, but it's got a very fluid walking motion despite it being a Gonk droid.
This would be a kind of silent movie or a love story, a bit like WALL-E, and we would be seeing almost like the trilogy unfolding, all these characters in his eyes. So he would be providing power to, I don't know, the pod race, or maybe in the rebellion camp on Yavin. He'd be sort of there in the background seeing all these big stuff happening, but he'd be secretly falling in love with another power droid or something, like a power unit in the corner, and it'd be him trying to woo them with his
a Forrest Dunk.
Yeah. So Wall-E did so much with very little, and it was all in the eyes and the way he was.
That's some of the. I mean, Wall-E is some of the opening 20-30 minutes of that is some of the finest filmmaking that you'll see, because there's nothing in it. There's no words, there's no communication verbally, and it's amazing.
I just love to see a Gonk droid making out with another Gonk droid in some weird, perverted way.
See, I'm sold just because I said Forrest Gump. Gonk,
sorry, Forrest Gonk.
Forrest Gunk. My mama told me life is like an extension cord.
Oh, God. Anyway, number 2. Yeah. This is a bit more familiar, but it's Max Rebo. And Max Rebo was the blue alien elephant leader of the space band called, wait for it, the Jizz Whalers. So we see him in Jabba's palace of weirdos, and we love him but yeah, he's a keyboard wizard. He's kind of like, I don't know, some weird psychedelic geezer. And, he is a blue elephant, but basically with very stumpy legs. He actually doesn't have legs. He kind of I think he walks on his hands. There's some interpretations of him. There was a big issue with his toy release because they gave him legs, but actually his thing that he sits on, which is like a big round, cushion with the keys of the piano going all the way around so he can swivel. Basically, that on top of that, he's not through it. So he hasn't got legs in the conventional way. He uses his arms, his legs. He's got little paddles. So he's like a little stumpy fella. And so the toys aren't accurate. So just to give you a little bit of backstory on that. But this would be...
I'm going to go upstairs now and just rip the legs off mine.
But this would be kind of like a music kind of... I don't know whether it would be Fly on the Wall documentary, but it would be like a bit like Walk the Line or TikTok. So it looked like Kurt Cobain one that we've seen recently. So it'd be his like either rags to riches or riches to rags, because I don't know whether him getting a gig on the barge boat with Jabba the Hutt is kind of like the riches. He's making money off Jabba. He's a big deal. He's a big warlord or gangster. Or would it be the other way around, where he starts off doing these shitty little gigs at Jabba's palace and he eventually gets spotted by a talent agent and goes sky high into Coruscant, playing the big venues a bit like Vegas, and gets a residency somewhere with his band, the Jizz Whalers. But he might have a bit of an addiction to something, snorting things up his little blue trunk, wading around drunk and gets pulled up by his mates in the band, and then turns himself around, maybe with the help of a woman or another alien. Yes, it might be like A Star Is Born, where he helps the young singer or something. And
you could have it like Almost Famous, where you had like a witness in the band following it for Rockstar magazine or whatever it would be.
Yes,
in the future, that'd be cool.
That would work, actually. That would work. So that's my number 2, Max Rebo and the Jizz Whalers. And so this leads me to number 1. And this one is a big, clunking, obvious one. So apologies, but I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, because this character is one of my just favorite characters, not just in Star Wars, but of all time. I want to be this person, this character. I look up to this person, literally. It's Chewbacca.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
You seem underwhelmed.
Oh, no, it's just that the way he's building up, I thought, it's going to be Boba Fett. It's going to be Boba Fett.
No, Boba Fett was nearly there, but I thought that's too obvious. I can't go Boba Fett.
And he's kind of had his moment of exposition, hasn't he, really? Because they kind of alluded to how he was, created in the Clone Wars, etc. But Chewie, okay, cool.
Well, listen, Chewie's got so much potential, because what he does on screen with just very little, his manners, he's just like a massive dog, isn't he? He's just playful, he's honourable, he's got honour, he's a good psychic, he's a good friend, he's badass at fighting, he's a good shot, he's a good technician, he's everything. He can do
everything, yeah.
He's an old geezer as well. He's been around for 300 years or whatever.
And he's got a lovely family.
Because as we know, this is what I'm thinking. So he's got a lovely family with, as we know, with Lumpy and Itchy and the other one, Marla. And
Hervey.
Yeah, so there's loads we could do. I don't know whether we would. We'd have to go to Kishek at some point. Whether there would be like a porn hub station for him, I don't know. And maybe you just pop home.
I mean, I would watch this just to try and get an idea of what that fucking thing is that the grandpa wears that Christmas morning. Or whether, no, not for Christmas. What was it? Festival.
Happy Life Day.
Happy Life Day. That was it. Yeah. So how could I fucking forget? It burnt into my retina hole.
But maybe in Solo we see how he was. We see Solo and him meet for the first time in that
he's all chained up and shit. We don't know how he got there.
How did he get there? And it's a bit of a change from, I think, the canon, or what was canon in the books, is that he was rescued by Han Solo from Bosk, and who was one of those bounty hunter lizard guys, and their race basically enslaved the Wookiees, and that's how that relationship developed, or the Wookiee life debt was created, not this kind of meeting in this muddy prison cell. But anyway, we could either do a bit more of a backstory on that kind of in slavery thing, or we could just go with the fact that how did he get captured by the Empire and stuck in the ditch. But yeah,
I mean, you could keep that as canon. So you could have escaped from the Bosk at some point, like going home, and then got picked up again by the Empire on his way back, and then that would then segue into
no, fucking hell. I'm just trying to get home, you asshole.
So there you go. That's number.
It's nearly Life Day, for God's sake.
That's number 1.
Brilliant. I knew that would be good. I
really enjoyed doing it, and
down, Chris. There was some left field choices there.
Yeah.
And obviously, like you say, a proper store that everyone could really relate to. But yeah, no, enjoyed that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good fitting last top 5.